Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in to the next 180 and 90. I'm heading into the gym right now. It's about 6 o'clock. I'm going to train a couple clients and then I'm going to go upstairs and talk to you about intermittent fasting and how to do it right. Okay guys, well it's definitely another busy night here at Functional Fitness, and we just got done training some clients, so we have the office all to ourselves, and I'm going to talk to you about that intermittent fasting and which one is the right one for you. Now truthfully, the right one for you is going to be whichever one you can do, and that's going to be the best way to approach it. So a lot of people think, and I made another little chart here, a lot of people think that intermittent fasting has to be like 1 full day of no eating and only drinking water, or 2 full days, or 3 full days. And it's not necessarily true. That is a form of intermittent fasting, but it's not the only way that you can go. Okay, so there are different degrees of fasting, but they all have benefits for you. And I always suggest to start with an easy one and work your way up. And we're going to talk about that right now. Okay guys, so I pulled my sign out right over here and we're going to talk about intermittent fasting. Now, a lot of people think that it has to be like 1 full day every month, or maybe 2 full days in a row every quarter, or maybe 3 times a year, 3 days in a row with only water, coffee, and certain teas, but that's not necessarily true, okay? So basically, intermittent fasting is what we used to call back in the olden days when we used to do it back in the early 90s. We used to just call it timed eating. So I think it's an easier way for a lot of people to kind of grasp their heads around it. You have a certain amount of time in the daytime that you should be eating, and the rest of the time of the day, don't eat. I think that's the simplest way for you to take a look at it. Now, could you go and do a full day or 2 days or 3 days? You absolutely could, but that's something later on down the road as you adjust toward that. I myself have done a form of intermittent fasting or timed eating for several years, and it's the best thing that works for me, and I'm going to tell you a lot of the benefits that come from it. But I've never done anything more than 24 hours. I've never felt like I needed to do anything more, like the 48, and definitely not the 72, because I don't frankly think I could do that personally. I mean, of course, if it was a zombie apocalypse and I had to, I would, but I have no desire to go a full 3 days. 1 day is enough for me, and I'll do that after I shrink my stomach and I get down to a good weight, and I'll do that maybe once every other month, and I'll just do that just to kind of bring on something that I'm gonna explain later, which is called autophagy. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Intermittent fasting isn't just about taking a whole day or 2 days or 3 days off. Okay, see, that's me. That's me. A little sad because I can't do 3 days. Some people can. That's awesome. I can't. That's me. 2 days, maybe. 1 day is totally doable. Okay, so let's come down over here, and I'm going to show you on this one. Okay, so the more common ones that are done throughout the day are eating splits. And like I said, it's like a timed window when you're allowed to eat. So the more common ones are a 10 and 14. That's a 10-hour eating window and a 14-hour fast. There's a 9-15, which is a 9-hour eating window and a 15-hour fast for the day. And there's an 8-16. Now, generally, my body responds the best on an 8-16, and I try to reach that every day. But as you know, if you've been watching the vlog every day, I haven't been able to get that every single time. Sometimes I'll fall into the 10-14, sometimes I'll fall into the 9-15, and then every now and then I'll hit that 8-16, which is fine. But going forward, if I want to get the best results from my eating, the 8-16 timed intermittent fasting window is the best one for me, and that's the one I need to try to make sure that I hit every single day. And then it really helps me to really lean out and really burn off fat and preserve muscle at the same time. So let's give you an idea of how that looks. I'm going to show you on the next page. Okay, so here we are on the next page, and on the next page I kind of drew it out for you so you can have a better idea of the breakdown of a day. Now in the circle, this is a full 24-hour day, and 16 hour of it fasting, 8-hour eating window out of there. Or it could be a 9-hour eating window and a 15-hour fasting, or a 10-hour eating window and a 14-hour fasting. Whichever way, I think it's easiest and best to look at it in this way. This is your entire day. It's a 24-hour period, and you have a certain amount of time that you have to eat. Now, a lot of people think, I can't go 16 hours without eating, but let's put this into perspective, okay? So putting it into perspective, we also got to remember sleeping. So a lot of people will sleep anywhere between 6 to 8 hours sleeping. Okay. And when they do that, that's part of that fasting period. So let's say you sleep 7 to 8 hours. Well, you know what? That only leaves 8 or 9 hours of actual fasting when you're up. And then the other 8 hours you're going to be eating. It's not that bad, right? I mean, frankly, we shouldn't be eating all the time. And there's a lot of reasons for that. So it's a lot easier when you break it down this way to kind of get a grasp of exactly what's going on. Now, during your fasting time, you don't have to just drink water. You could drink black coffee. You could drink a multitude of different type of teas, licorice, green tea, as long as there's no type of fruits or any type of dried sweetener in it that's going to cause your digestive juices to flow. Of course, I like to use apple cider vinegar with water, which helps to curb my appetite as well too, and keeps the pH balance in my gut. So that's always good as well. And during that time, you can also drink certain types of, I like to do certain types of bubbly water that has like very, very or 0 calorie type flavor, but you have to be careful which ones you're using, okay? Now, when doing this window, and you have this 8 hour window to eat and 16 hours, but let's say 6 to 8 hours of that is sleeping, think about it in this perspective, okay? Eating every 2 or 3 hours when you're up, all the time, like a lot of the old bodybuilders used to believe, isn't necessarily the best thing for you. Now, some people need to because of blood sugar reasons, medical reasons. If that's the case, by all means, you got to do what the doctor tells you to do. But think of it this way. Food is actually very, very energy consuming to digest. Think about when you have a certain meal and then you feel very lethargic afterwards, okay? So it takes a lot of energy for our body to break that down and then transport it throughout our body and utilize it in the proper ways and take the waste out and so on and so forth. So giving ourselves some time to actually not eat and utilize that energy to do what the body does best, which is repair itself and regenerate and to heal ourselves and our immune system so that we can fight off and stave off diseases and illnesses, is actually a good thing to do. We don't always want to be tasking our body to break down food all the time every 2 to 3 hours from the moment we wake to the moment we go to sleep. Not exactly the best thing to do if you think of it that way. Okay, guys, now one of the greatest things that occurs when you're fasting and can be driven even more intensely by adding a couple other things to it is autophagy. Now, autophagy is an amazing process that happens in the body when the body starts to attack its disease cells and any of its unhealthy areas of the cells that it needs to regenerate, and it needs to get out a lot of wastes and different types of toxic proteins. Now, the word autophagy itself means self-eating. And as you can see, I drew a little Pac-Man here, and here's a little ghost. If you're from the 80s, you totally know what I'm talking about. But we like to think of it at this point that when you're not eating and you're going through fasting, you know, doctors have proven that fasting is one of the most efficient ways to get your body to get into a form of autophagy. And what happens during that moment is some pretty miraculous things. Our body starts to attack the disease cells. A lot of doctors are utilizing fasting and forms of keto type eating to attack cancer cells and to also remove toxic proteins from the body. It helps your body to regenerate its cells, creates new younger cells. So it actually acts as like an anti-aging at the same time. It even helps with loose skin to a certain degree because of formulating new skin cells as well too. So new tight skin fights neurodegenerative diseases also like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. So these are all these amazing things that happen with autophagy, and even more so, fasting helps to drive the body into a state of autophagy quicker, because with the lack of food in your system, your body starts to also break down those disease cells for energy to be able to utilize for the functions that it has to do every day. So it helps to self-regulate and helps itself clean. Now, I'm not a doctor, and I don't know all the details on that, but I am going to leave you links down below that you can research it yourself and find out more details, and it's pretty amazing. And doctors are doing a lot of work with fasting, keto diets as well too, to help even promote autophagy quicker. And of course, exercise. Exercise helps to promote autophagy at the same time. So if we're throwing a form of fasting type intermittent eating where we have a window of eating and a prolonged period of time that we're not eating, and then we're eating clean and we're throwing in exercise as well too, we're allowing our bodies to get into that state, that form of autophagy, that is going to just help us and create an anti-aging, self-regenerating stasis that our body just needs to be in and loves to be in. Now, of course, there is proof that you get into deeper forms of autophagy if you go a full 24 hours of fasting, or 48 hours, or 72 for the 3 days. But again, I don't recommend doing that until you're really ready to go ahead and move forward with that, and you've tested the waters. You successfully went from, like, let's say, starting off with a 12-hour fast and a 12-hour eating window, then go to a 14-hour fast and a 10-hour eating window, then go to the 9:15, then the 8:16, and then when you feel like you've got a lot under control and it's very easy, try a 24-hour day, 1 day out of the month, and see how it feels, and see the results that happen with the body and what can and you know how you respond to it. Don't necessarily jump straight into the 3-day, because again, it's not something I do or I want to do. But maybe one day I will when I get older, and it's something that I want to see if I can do it, but I'm going to work my way up to it. And then of course I'm also going to talk to my doctor before I do so. It never hurts to check with a medical professional. Okay, so autophagy, great stasis for the body to be in, regenerative, creates new younger cells, anti-aging, and fights a host of diseases like cancer, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, so many things. Okay guys, so thanks for hanging out with me tonight. We had a great talk about intermittent fasting. I'm going to be able to actually leave work early tonight, so I'm jazzed. I can go home and actually make my 8-hour window, have some Thai chicken lettuce wraps with my wife, and that's going to be yummy, and still stick to my intermittent fasting diet as well as my window. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm going to be back here in the morning time at 5 a.m., but I'm going to check you guys out too on the 180 and 90. And remember, if you love what we're talking about and the information you're learning, please hit the like button, and if you could, and you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. It really gets me pumped to produce more content for you on a daily basis. And of course, hit that notification bell and you'll be notified every single time we put up a new episode on the 180 and 90. Take care.